Everybody, my name is Jakob Yarosh, and this is my presentation on the chemistry of coffee. So, in this presentation, we will discuss the two different species of coffee, the chemical components of those two different species of coffee. We will discuss caffeine, trigonelline, carbs, lipids, proteins, and the chemistry of coffee aroma. So, let's begin. Alright, so we'll start with the two different species of coffee. So, these both derive from the genus Coffea. And there are two different types, Coffea arabica and Coffea canephora. Coffea arabica is shown on your left of the screen, and Coffea canephora is shown on the right of your screen. There are visual differences in the beans, you can kind of see them, but the real difference comes in the chemical composition of it. So this composition obviously differs based on the species. And also these ranges of percentages differ based on blend techniques. So there's different blend techniques that will give you different numbers here. But in general, you'll see that Coffea canephora has double the amount of caffeine that Arabica has at 2.4% versus 1.2%. And canephora has less carbs at 54% versus 63% for Arabica. And it also has less fats at 13% versus Coffea arabica having 18%. And then you'll notice in the middle of this table right here, this compound called trigonelline. Trigonelline is a beneficial substance for humans, and we'll discuss it later. Just remember that trigonelline is in coffee, and Arabica has more of it, actually. So, first, caffeine. So what is it? Caffeine, when people usually think of caffeine, they think of coffee, they think of energy, and they're exactly right. Caffeine is the active substance in coffee, and it has positive effects on our energy, and it has addictive effects on our brain, which is a negative side effect, but that's neither here nor there. It's structurally similar to adenosine, and when you think of adenosine, you may think of adenosine triphosphate, the main energy molecule that our body uses, and it has stimulating effects on our brain, and so does caffeine. So what is caffeine exactly? What is it categorized as? Caffeine is categorized as an alkaloid, and an alkaloid is an organic substance containing nitrogen. Basically, as you'll see in the chemical structure of caffeine here, you'll see the nitrogens, you'll see hydrogens, carbons, and oxygens, and a little bit of organic chemistry. I'm not going to bore you too much with this, because it does get a little much. But the structure, basically, all these peaks right here on the molecule represent carbons, unless they're labeled. So like this nitrogen right here, that if it's labeled as a nitrogen, then it's a nitrogen. But if it's not labeled, like these points right here, they're carbons. And these double bonds right here, these two lines represent double bonds, and that's just bond strength within the molecule. So next is trigonelline. Here we go, remember this. Trigonelline is an alkaloid, just like caffeine, and you'll see the nitrogens in it right here in figure 4. And trigonelline has beneficial effects on the human body. When inside the body, it's broken down into nicotinic acid, amongst other things, but nicotinic acid is the most important thing that's broken down to, because nicotinic acid is niacin, and niacin is vitamin B3. And vitamins of the B complex have effects on our metabolism. It helps us break nutrients down faster and process them and use them a little bit more efficiently. And you'll see niacin here on the right in figure 5. So next we're going to discuss the carbs in coffee. So depending on the species, it has around 50%. That's just a ballpark average. And of those 50% carbs, some of them are complex polysaccharides that don't really have an effect on the taste. And then there's some monosaccharides like glucose, galactose, fructose, or arabinose, mannose that have some contribution to the bitter taste in coffee. And a little bit of exercise physiology here, since I'm an exercise science major. Carbs are used as our main energy source in moderate to high intensity exercise. So aside from the caffeine, do you have any idea of, based on that information that carbs are our main energy source, do you think there's a different reason why people may drink coffee, before workout or after workout? I'll give you a second. If you're watching this, I'll give you a second to think of a reason. Okay, so if you have something, great. If you don't, I'm just going to explain it right now. People drink coffee to replenish their carb stores within the body so we can continue to function body processes and function normally just as a human for movement and stuff. So that's really cool. Next are lipids in coffee. These amount to about 17% in the body, so not a lot. But around 75% of those lipids in the body are stored as triglycerides, or the triacylglycerols is a scientific name. Triglycerides is a simplified name, so that's all we're going to worry about here. Triglycerides are the main substance in fat storage. And fat is also used as an energy source in the body. So we can also make that same connection that we made to carbs with people drink the coffee because it has fats, which also serve as an energy source. It's great, isn't it? And there's other lipids within coffee, and those are cereals and tocopherols. Cereals in coffee don't have any effect on us because the only cereal that's important to our human body is cholesterol, and cholesterol is found in animal proteins, but the tocopherols, specifically alpha tocopherol, this is really important because the alpha tocopherol is vitamin E, and vitamin E is a very important antioxidant vitamin in our body. So when we work out, we put our body under oxidative stress. And during oxidative stress, free radicals attack our blood cell membranes and can damage them, but vitamin E helps protect our blood cells from being damaged. And up here in the top right, figure 6, you will see vitamin E, and it's a very complicated structure. I just want you to see what it looks like on the screen or on paper or whatever. And then figure 7 down here at the bottom, you'll see a glycerol backbone and 3 fatty acid chains, and that makes up a triglyceride. So next is proteins, and the protein content is very low. It's around 10%, 10 or 11%, but their function is great. So the proteins in coffee are broken down into amino acids, and within the body, we have 9 essential amino acids that we need to ingest in order to function correctly. And the 9 amino acids that we need are in coffee. So a few examples are threonine, isoleucine, phenylalanine, tryptophan, histidine. Those are all essential amino acids. So we can consider coffee a complete protein because it has all 9 of those essential amino acids. So that's really cool. There is some research that has been done to see whether protein content and bitterness have a connection, and they don't. But yeah, there's really no contribute to bitterness with proteins. And see these figures here, there's just some amino acids. Just so you know what they look like, figure 8 is leucine, figure 9 is lysine, and 10 is tryptophan. So these are all very complex molecules, but the information is very cool. So the last thing we're going to discuss is aroma chemistry. So there was a study done by Aschbacher. I'm not good with names, so excuse me for that. There was a test done by Aschbacher to test methylglyoxal and hydrogen peroxide toxicity in the body, in the human body. Methylglyoxal is an antibiotic just like hydrogen peroxide, but methylglyoxal breaks down into advanced glycation end products, which are connected to stuff like diabetes, neurodegenerative disorders, and aging, according to Alleman. And it was this study by Aschbacher found that these two compounds have a direct relationship with each other. and they can cause mutagenicity, or the ability to cause mutations. And they have a direct relationship, which means that the more of these two compounds in the body, the more likely they cause mutations, or the less amount of compounds, these two compounds in the body, the less likely they are to cause mutations. Does that make any sense? So overall, this study concluded that these two compounds don't have an effect on our human health. There's the concentration of these two compounds is way too low to have an effect on us. Instead, though, sulfuric compounds were found to have the most negative effect on our health. So just in summary, there are two different species of coffee, Coffea canephora, Coffea arabica. The chemical composition differ in carbs, lipids, proteins, caffeine, trigonelline, and minerals. Caffeine is the active substance in both of these Coffea species, and it's an alkaloid just like trigonelline, and trigonelline, as we remember, breaks down into vitamin B3, a very important metabolism vitamin. There are carbs in coffee, there are lipids in coffee, there are proteins in coffee. Those make up the most of the liquid portion of coffee, and they have metabolic benefits. And then, so just as an overall conclusion, there are many different aspects of coffee that contribute to the chemistry of coffee. But the chemistry of coffee is simple. It's beneficial for us. So I think we should all drink coffee because it's a great thing. And here's our references. Here's my references that I used. I hope you enjoyed listening to my presentation. Thank you.